Hello, everyone. Welcome to a new episode of Two Middle Aged Geeks on Film, where we are here to talk about the Scrubs reboot.
Is that what we're doing? Does
Yes,
SCR? It works actually. I would
I,
go with that.
I much rather be talking about that at this point than whatever we're about to talk about.
Well, that's a little unfair because I think there's pretty much any. I think you'd almost rather talk about the Scrubs reboot than almost anything at this point. I mean, that's right up your
Well,
alley
right,
and right up my
exactly.
alley as well. I will say it is nice to be back. This is our first public return. We did a soft launch just for patrons and members last week. We were continuing our MCU rewatch. This is our first back in action. We're back. We're bad. You're not black. I'm not mad, but we're doing a good job of it anyway.
We're doing our best, is the thing that I can say right now. It's really funny because I actually think that the Guardians 2 episode is one of the best things that we've done in a very long time,
Yeah.
because there was so much passion and, conversation and reevaluation of a movie that both of us hadn't seen in a really long time, uh, and, coming around on it, and it was really sobering to, love that movie so much this week and then get hit in the face with what I'm going to argue by the time we are done with this podcast, one of the worst studio horror films in the past 10 years.
Wow. There you go. We're ripping the Band-Aid right off there, I guess. I will
Well,
say,
look,
yes, we went from happily surprised to how much we improved our liking on something to surprised maybe at just how much this does falter. I'll say right off the top of the bat, where we do our ratings at the end, and we'll get there. I'm not going to give you a full-on number rating now, but I think it's safe to say I have a little more positive than you. Um, which is usually the
yeah,
other way around, honestly, just kind of funny.
yeah.
But I also am not exactly the biggest fan on this film. But before we get into that, I really do want to say we have to there is I don't think there's been a film I can't think of in recent memory. Maybe you can remind me because I'm an old man. But it
You
feels like
know.
I have not seen a film that has seen more performative reviews and comments on it in a long, long time, and this is on both sides. Like, I'm not I mean, we've had the Marvel people who are the anti-Marvel people, we've had the anti-Star Wars people who've kinda gotten performative a little bit. And there's a performative back, I guess, the other way to positivity, but this one,
Mhm.
I feel like every review or every comment I've seen on Scream 7 has either been performative, "This is the worst thing I've ever seen," or performative, "This is the best thing I've ever seen, and if you don't agree with me, then you are fucking stupid, and it's all over." Like, it's been I have never seen a film, or at least in a long time I can remember, where I'm looking at it, I can't trust anyone's review on this because it almost all seems like they had uh, something, an axe to grind or an agenda or whatever it was. And nobody seemed to really want to just dive in and look at the movie. I mean, I talked
Well,
to you about it and got it, which is good, but everywhere else, I'm like, I just don't
the
get it.
thing is, and the truth of the matter is that there's no easy way to talk about this movie because of everything that happened behind the
Right,
scenes. Like, that's just gonna be the reality of the situation,
right,
and we're gonna try to talk about the movie itself, but you can't really go into the movie itself without acknowledging what happened,
right.
behind the scenes before this came out, because the truth is, this movie is a Band-Aid for a lot of really, really scummy stuff that happened behind the scenes,
Hmm.
when Melissa Barrera started posting about how she felt about the stuff going on in Gaza, and
Hmm.
I'm not saying that you have to side with her side of what she was feeling, but there was no reason ultimately also to fire her for posting something like that,
Right.
um, and because of where the series was headed, coming off the 6th film, because we've reviewed all of these to this point, by the way. You can go back and listen, to our early episodes. We've covered all 6 of these films to this point.
This is our first franchise.
Yeah, this was the
First one we
very
covered.
first thing we ever did, so it's actually kind of interesting to come around back to it because when we started this, we did not know what was going to happen after 6, and
Right,
none of this had happened yet.
right.
And so I remember coming off of 6 being real excited because I love the movie. I still love the movie. I know you've cooled on it more over time.
Yes. On both 5
Um,
and 6, honestly. But we'll get into that as far as
and
the conversation goes.
yeah. So I just know that coming off of 6, I felt like we were actually going in an interesting and fun direction, something we hadn't really seen before, like this potential of it's a thing that I've actually enjoying, and weirdly enough, I know what you did last summer, actually did this last summer, was what happens if the survivor actually becomes the killer. Spoiler alert for the 2025 I know what you did last summer. But like the truth of the matter is that there's actually a story to be told there. And I liked the stuff they were doing with Billy Loomis and the stuff with Melissa Barrera in those movies.
Right.
And it was looking like Radio Silence obviously wasn't going to direct. We found out Chris Landon was going to direct it. Like that's great. Like such a great choice coming off the Happy Death Day movies and off of Freaky. Like he's a really
We're big
cool,
Landon fans, yeah.
yeah. Like Landon's great. He's a terrific filmmaker, and so it just made sense. His slasher movies were really fun and very meta, and that was exactly what this franchise has needed.
Right.
Cut to all this stuff happens after the post, and Melissa Barrera is fired, and then you have Jenna Ortega just leaves the movie, and so Chris Landon quits the movie because now his movie is in jeopardy.
He
And
was getting death threats about
right,
Melissa,
right,
even though he had nothing to do with the firing. He was innocent of that. It was like that was above his head.
yeah,
But
which he's come out to say,
correct. And Jenna Ortega left. She has said it was due to scheduling. There has been speculation that she was making her stand with Melissa, but doing it in such a way that she could kind of like, stay that middle ground, which if that's the case, that is her right to
yeah,
do so. I hate the fact I want to come out and say right now, like, and I'll let you continue. I want to say right now that like you can have any political beliefs you want, you can have anything you want, but as far as I'm concerned, what I hate more is when people blame or like get on people for deciding not to take a public stand on something or whatever. Like if it's not anybody's business why she had to leave. And if she doesn't want to like stake claim this is I'm doing it for you, that's her right as well. As long as she's cool with Melissa behind the scenes, like that's between them. It's not. We have no right to see. That's not between us. We have no contract with Jenna Ortega to tell us why she left. She can say
right,
anything she wants to say.
yeah, 100%. So in all of this, Kevin Williamson, who was still involved with 5 and 6, like, well, up front, Kevin Williamson was very involved as a producer, like, he did have input on those movies.
Mhm.
He is the architect of this franchise. He hasn't directed a movie in a very long time, and it's not a very particularly good movie either, which is
Right.
Teaching Mrs. Tingle. But in all of what's happening, the studio basically pivots and says, "Will you come back to this franchise, and will you direct it now?"
Right.
You gave birth to this franchise under Wes by writing it, like, maybe it's your time to come back.
Right.
And then they also went to Neve Campbell, who they had famously already, or I should say infamously, had, like, basically offered her a lot less money for
Lowballed
6
her. Yeah.
and lowballed her, so she didn't do the movie,
Right.
and now they went and gave her the biggest payday she's ever gotten for one of these for this movie.
Right.
And in
They
doing
This was
that
a Hail
as
Mary. Let's put it
right.
what it is. It's definitely a Hail
Well,
Mary because everything was they were in kind of panic mode. They were having bad PR. They didn't know what else to do. They didn't they basically lost all their stars. They had to like pivot. Well, the best way we can pivot is to go back to the originals. We'll go back to the standbys. Like we can get
yeah,
Nev Campbell by dumping the money truck back in there. If we're going to get somebody to replace Landon as a director, why not Kevin Williamson, the guy who Scream is his baby outside of Wes? Obviously, Wes is no longer here, and that's one of the most unfortunate things about this entire thing is I miss Wes Craven the most out of everybody
yeah.
going on. And I like Radio Silence, by the way. I don't mind. I like them as director. I'm cool on the
Oh,
movies.
I
I
know.
just
I give you shit for the fact that I think that you're harder on 5 and 6 because it's
I
not
am.
Wes, but, like, that's ultimately the difference between you and I is I'm a lot like, I'm able to separate things a lot easier than a lot of people are.
To me, like 5 and 6, like, I'll say a little bit, just didn't capture like the Scream vibe that I wanted from Scream. And that's, but I mean, to be completely fair, also, even West didn't always do that. Scream 3 for me is infamously, I thought
Right.
it kind of veered too far to the comedy
I
side
mean,
of
it's the
things
worst
instead
of
of
the
that thing.
franchise to that point, and
Absolutely. And
then
I still said
once
that.
6 was over, it was still the worst of the franchise.
I, I even though I've cooled, I would still say that. Absolutely.
No, sure.
Um,
So, it's just unfortunate because now going into this movie, you're right, like, it makes it hard to talk about this because it sounds like everyone has an axe to grind, and truth of the matter is, like, at the end of the day, I don't really wanna get into how I necessarily feel about the Nev and the Williamson of it all even doing this as like a damage control thing. Because at the end of the day, like this is also a franchise that they have been deeply involved in for a long time. I understand that they ultimately would probably have wanted to go back to it regardless. Um, Even if the issue had been different. It doesn't make it easier though to also be like, man, this whole thing just kind of felt like a mess going in. And that sucks because there's no good way to talk about this where it doesn't feel that way.
Right. Is it safe to say, just like before we start getting into the nooks and crannies now, is it safe to say, because I do know you were fond of 5 and 6 in the direction they were going, that you went to 7 disappointed by what was like you weren't exactly as excited about this one now that this was all happening, but
Yeah.
you were still hopeful given that, you do like Neve, you do like Kevin as a writer at least and everything else, and
Yeah.
had like hopefully this can return. Does that sound fair?
It sounds fair, and admit up front that a lot of my biggest problems were things that I was pretty worried up front were gonna be my bigger problems anyway.
Mhm.
So I definitely took baggage into the movie, but here's the thing about me specifically is that I am very willing to admit when I'm wrong about things when it comes to
Tron Ares.
movies. Yeah, I mean, like, specifically, like, look, I know that Tron Ares isn't good, but I like it a lot more than I probably should for what it is, which is Tron. Like,
But I
I
thought
was
you
just at
would. Like
right,
you were very vocal about not like being I love Tron. This does not feel like it's gonna be Tron. I'm gonna go, but and you came out
right.
going, yeah, it was pretty good, pretty fun.
Like, I actually liked it way more than I
Yeah,
anticipated.
absolutely.
So, like, I will totally eat crow, um, but I
Right,
did feel upfront from the announcements when we started hearing about all this the only way I can sadly refer to it is stunt casting of
right,
bringing back a lot of the older actors,
right,
the way that they do, it just feels like I'm supposed to look at the dangly keys, and I very rarely talk about this when it comes to filmmaking and, like, movies like this, because at the end of the day, I think that movies balance a lot of, like, fan service and storytelling, and sometimes I understand when people feel like it can go too far a direction, but this was the
right,
first time it felt very much like, "Look at the jangly keys. Look at all the things that you like about Scream. Don't worry about how bad the script is and that we didn't really think this through, and we know that the reveal is about to be really bad, but, like, look at the jangly keys because it's all these things that you know."
right,
And we should be upfront. This is gonna be a spoiler review.
right. Yes,
I mean,
absolutely.
this obviously where we're going kind of tells you that, but upfront, I want you guys to know that this is gonna be a complete spoiler review.
100%. Um, I will now on my journey from this, I will say that I actually went to this. I guess I shouldn't say more hopeful than you because let's calling it like it is. Outside of the behind the scenes scumminess, one of the things that I cooled on even more so, and one of the things actually even to go back to my reviews, I always was vocal about. I'm not a fan of Melissa Barrera's performances in Scream and 5 and Scream 6.
Yeah.
I never liked her character very much.
We
Honestly,
actually
the whole
we fought about that a little bit
we did,
in
we
our
did.
episodes, because I feel very differently about that.
You absolutely do, and I will state up front, like, even with that, I still think it was pretty scummy behind the scenes. So that's like
Yeah.
personally, I have no problems with Melissa Barrera, and I think that, that sucks that everything went down. It is what it is. But to be honest with you, the whole core 4, I was not a huge fan of. Jenna Ortega was the one that I really dug and really would love to have seen come forth. The rest of them, I wasn't a big fan of Melissa, and the other 2 twins that I could see come back, I could have taken or leaving. But that's part of the reason I'll talk about that more when we get to their role in this.
Oh, Mindy and
Um,
Chad.
yeah, Mindy and Chad, as it were. But I will say that so when that all went down, and I knew Neve was coming back, and Kevin Williamson was coming back, I was definitely more on the okay. It feels a little desperate. It feels a little Hail Mary. I don't know what else they could have done at that point. Like I feel like
Right.
if they could have either the only other choice I had was to completely like start either reboot completely, start with a lot of unknowns, which would have been almost a totally I think could have been disastrous in a way, in a different kind of way. Or
Mhm.
you go, well, let's have Kevin Williamson the guy who started it, write something new. He'll give him a shot to direct again. We have Neve Campbell coming back to lead the story, give us an emotional anchor. Okay, I'll give Kevin the shot. I'll give Neve the shot, and we will see what happens. Um, and then with that being said, let's see what we got at this point.
Right.
Um,
And here's the thing I'm gonna say real quick is
yeah,
that there was another option. There was the
okay,
nuclear option, and the
right,
nuclear option was you just put it on the shelf until you're ready to make another movie,
fair,
and, like,
fair,
actually taking the time. But the
fair,
problem was is that they had, like, backed themselves into a corner. They had
right,
announced it. They were
right,
going to do it.
right.
So, the truth is that there was totally the nuclear option. That's just one of those things that could have happened. It didn't happen, and that's what it is.
Remind me,
Um,
they announced Scream 7, and then afterwards they fired Melissa Barrera,
yeah,
correct?
from what I
Okay,
under if I'm remembering correctly, like, in
right.
order.
So that
But
does actually put them a little bit in a corner, but you're not wrong. They could have just, like, let it cool down and, like, said, "Alright, let's figure out what we wanna do later on."
yeah, because I think that would have been the better option, honestly, because I'm gonna say this now. This reminds me of the conversations about this movie remind me a lot of the Rise of Skywalker conversations and how the fandoms feel about had the movie taken an extra year to actually get everything right because the bones of the movie make sense in a lot of ways and could have been used in really good ways. But because the movie didn't have the time that it needed to gestate and necessarily a filmmaker who was like really wanting to do it or really knew how to handle the situation or the things that they were writing, there was a better movie to be had there been more time. So,
I
the movie we
wonder
ended up with feels half-baked.
I do wonder, like, I've never we don't I don't even know what he said 'cause I never actually read any interviews on him, but did Kevin Williamson even want to direct this, or is this kind of more of like the Peter Jackson, The Hobbit thing where like, "Well, this has gotta be made, I don't know what else to do. Well, I guess I'll direct it. I'll
I
write it. I
mean,
might as well direct it because Landon drops out."
then it really seemed like
Feels like that.
well, no, because I mean, now granted, this is because it's a PR thing,
Right.
but, like, it seems like at least Williamson has been very much like, "Well, man, like, I've wanted to direct again, and it just kinda made sense if I was gonna direct, like,
Yeah.
doing a Scream movie was kind of where I would do it again," and so, I mean, there seems like there was genuine interest.
Okay.
My problem is that even with genuine interest, he's just not a good filmmaker, and that's
No.
the
Yeah.
really unfortunate thing here is that I think at the end of the day, most of my problems with the movie are going to live and die at his feet more than anything because I don't think the movie is very well put together, and I really don't think it's well directed.
I would have definitely agree on the directed part, and, what's weird is and this is what I said to you, and I've said it in, like, my talking conversations with other people, like, because was a little higher on it than you were, but I feel like there was definitely some very good bones there that
Mhm.
could have been put together. It just feels like every choice that Kevin made and I can almost like I when I watch the choices, I can like see in my head why he made that choice, but I definitely wouldn't have made those choices. And I feel like he made a lot of the wrong choices when he had a choice between two things. He went the wrong way. This movie is chock full of nostalgia, member berries, all that jangly keys you talked about. And I'm usually a sucker for those. I'm not gonna lie, I'll get that out of the way
Right.
too. I'm a sucker for those. Give me those all day, as long as there's a good story with it. But it feels like every time they should have used like a trope and a nostalgia bait, they didn't, and they chose to do nostalgia in the worst way possible at times. Like the one I'll even throw it out there. Here's our first specific point, and we talked about it, and we were on the same page. The leather jacket.
Oh my
That's
god.
not like Indiana Jones's fedora. That's not like that kind of thing. Like her daughter comes down wearing this leather jacket, and Kevin Williamson treats it like it's this big thing we should all remember. Neve Campbell's leather jacket, and I'm like, oh, yeah, oh, she wore that once, didn't she? Yeah,
I hate that whole moment. I
it's not
hate
the
that whole
fedora.
thing.
It's not the fedora. It's not like that kind of. It's not that kind of. It's not a Batman costume. It's not like that kind of thing. It's just. It's a leather
I
jacket.
I mean, but that's the entire opening of the movie. And that ultimately is like you're watching the beginning of the movie and they're going, "Hey, remember when all these people died in this house?" Because it's supposed to be this whole sequence where it's a Airbnb that is rebuilt to look like the Stumacher house,
Right.
and it's supposed to set off this whole event that Stumacher, is he dead? Is he alive? Like, what's this whole thing? And it's just kinda corny and, like, not in a fun way. And I don't know, man, like, in the first 10 minutes, I was watching it, and it kind of felt like a scary movie parody. I
It did.
genuinely right? Like, I genuinely didn't think it was real.
I was about to say that looked like more of a stab, like, kind of thing than anything else. I'm like, "Is this genuine or is this real?" And, like, they went with, like, this is the first time thing. They totally go against the trope. And I know I'm an old guy and I don't recognize people. I actually had to ask you, like, "Are those 2 people celebrities? Do we know these people?" And you're like, "Well, the guy's kind of familiar." And but
Yeah.
I think they're both, like, not exact. It's not like they're Drew Barrymore level or anything like that. They aren't, like, really well-known people, and that was always kind of the trope getting you into the Scream movie. You're gonna see a celebrity pop up that we didn't know, and they were gonna get killed in the first 10 minutes, and that was gonna be part of the fun, is watching this like, "Who's it gonna be? Oh, cool, they're in a Scream movie." And with this, it was just kinda like, okay, so it's just 2 random people who have nothing to do with anything,
Mhm.
any connection, anything really,
And we
and I
really don't hear about them again, by the way,
no,
after the fact.
no, it's just like that's the spur to get some people where they need to go eventually, but, like, it's barely even mentioned, and even worse, it feels like they did it just to let you know if you haven't seen all of the rumors, Schumacher might be alive. That was like the reason why
Right.
they did the opening the way they did. And I guess you needed to do that a little bit for that story they were going with, but it just felt off and it felt again like a parody more than the real thing.
Well, especially because it's kind of hand waved away until Gale shows up again too, which is
Right.
such a the again, this is the whole thing with this movie is that I don't understand the logic leaps it makes and or how that event happens and then it makes Gale show up at random to kill Ghostface. Like, and you think that I'm joking, but that's literally what it is basically the opening scene sets the movie in motion so that Gale can kill one of the Ghostfaces by accident.
Gale. You mentioned Gale Weathers, and I already automatically sighed. This film, wait, I want to say it weighs her, but like there is
It
just
wastes
no
everyone.
reason for her to be in this film except for that she was in the first that she was in the original. She's one of the OG people. There is no reason for her to be in this film.
No,
None.
because they don't do anything with it. And it other than like there's supposed to be this really kind of sad moment about the damage of what happened in New York and what it did to her. But the thing is it kind of falls flat because I don't really like the stuff that they do with her and Sydney together either. Like there's this whole sequence where they decide to go live on air all these years later to try to get goad the ghost face into calling into the show.
Right.
And so they do this live interview and Gale just goes full Gale, and it's like, after everything that they have been through together, it doesn't ring true to their characters to
Agreed.
do this.
Especially because at the end, later on, where like Nevin and Gail survive again, and it's like, I do trust you. Like, really? After he just like
Yeah,
pushed you on live TV like that? It felt like, I know you could argue, I guess, that Gail had to do that to spur on Ghostface to call, but it felt like I remember we complained a bunch of times in the early part of the franchise about how they kept resetting Gail and Dewey's relationship, and that's kind of annoying after a while. And I
mhm,
still hold true to that. But this is like 7 films in, and we're complete resetting Gail, who would definitely move past that with with Sydney, at least at this point. After she went through the trauma of losing Dewey after the attack in New York,
yeah,
and she's still pushing this kind of like, I don't know. It felt very off to me too.
yeah, and that's the whole vibe of the movie for me. Uh, it just never lands, and so we should really talk about, because we're already in the subject of it all, is the ghost face of it all, and the ghost face motivations, and the way they
Oh,
use ghost face in the film. because here's one of the things that I actually think in some way could have been cool and it done well is the FaceTime usage of Ghostface. Because
Yes,
it's a modern film, it's a modern era. I think you could have done something really interesting with FaceTime and also all this stuff now
the deep
with
fakes and
like,
stuff.
yeah, deep fakes and things like that. Here's the problem. It just doesn't work because I never buy into the mystery that he is actually alive. So this
Right.
whole thing being based around Stu Macher being alive just doesn't work. And Matthew Lillard is maybe the best part of this film.
Easily.
I he's really, really good.
Yeah.
Even though also I do think that they should have aged Stu up a little more as a character. He
Right.
feels a little bit like he's still high school Stu Macher, which I understand is the last time Sydney saw him. So I know what
Right.
they're trying to do, but I think you should have made him more angry and older, not necessarily so still stuck perpetually in high school.
Well, I will push back on that aspect if only because the reveal being that it's these characters who are obsessed with Sydney's story
I know, and I know
goes back
why,
to
but
them being them in a way. So I get that aspect
I
of it.
I do, but I just don't like it, if
That's
that
fine.
makes sense.
That
Um,
that's absolutely fine.
yeah, but I like Lillard, and I like the idea of Ghostface FaceTiming in like that. Like, that stuff's interesting.
It is, but I also agree with you in the fact that because like, it's one of those things like, if Stu was alive, then it wouldn't be made a mystery like that.
Right,
Like, that's the thing, like, so when the deepfake idea comes out, it becomes like this mystery, is he really alive? But, like, it's like, well, if no, we as the audience would know this isn't a good reveal because it just feels like the only reveal possible is
right.
that he is dead or that he's still dead and it's a deep fake thing. But I will say again, my nostalgia thing, I'm cool with an excuse to see Lillard in a role again.
Sure.
And I did love that aspect of it. But let me say this also. As part of the problem of the film, and I mentioned this to you as well, the film does things but it feels like it does things for coolness factors and it sacrifices logic of everything going on. Because
Yeah,
if these two ghost faces, which we'll get to the ghost faces, who they are, or whatever, when they reveal that they're who they are, that's not Stu Macher and everything, the reveal makes no sense because if that was who they were, they would have used Billy Loomis. Because
right,
Billy Loomis is the one who had the connection with City. Yes, I know Lillard's character. I know Stu was there. I know Stu tried to kill her too. But emotionally, if you're trying to hit Sydney's heart, you're going to go the boyfriend that screwed her over literally. I mean, they even talk about that because they have the whole mirror of Tatum's boyfriend climbing in the window, just like mom. That would make sense. And I know logistically speaking, it's probably a studio Kevin Williamson thing. Well, we just had Skeet Ulrich come back the last movie as a vision to
right.
to his daughter. So is that like going to the well too many times? We really should have Stu. So it's basically it's an excuse to bring Stu back, but that's what makes it lesser in a way. And there should be a
Right.
better reason to bring Stu back. Like, if you wanted Stu to come back and say like he wanted revenge or something without pushing Nev's, if it was Stu, that'd be okay.
Well,
But
and that
because it isn't Stu, they wouldn't have used Stu.
right, and I do think that this is inherently the problem with going back to the Stu Macher well,
Right,
because at least in Scream 5 and 6, all the stuff with Billy is done in a way that we know that it's a vision. We always know that it's not real, so it never has to commit to this idea that he's alive.
right.
I think, and I really believe this, if Stu Macher is the well that you're going back to, go full tilt with it. He
Yeah,
really should have been alive. Like,
yeah.
and I think that honestly, if the reveal had been done that early and then it's revealed later that he had like started a Ghostface cult or something, I would have been way more into whatever this movie was trying to do than what it is because
100%.
so much of what this movie ends up doing feels regressive and
Right,
also kind of feels like a slap in the face to the fact that the franchise continued to try to evolve and
right.
get out of like the shadow of what it was because you know, your feelings may vary on the TV show or 5 or 6, but 5 and 6 especially at least paid homage and, like, paid their flowers to the original series and then tried to move forward.
Okay.
By doing this, it feels like the franchise is saying, "Sorry, but we're not allowed to evolve." And that really, really bothers me.
And it's also, it feels typical of where we're heading in a lot of film.
Yeah,
It feels like a lot of people are like, no, no, can't go too far. We're alienating our core fan base now. We got to get them back. So let's give them exactly what they want, which is a carbon copy of the first or something close
right,
to that. And I agree in a way. Like I might not have loved 5 and 6, but I appreciate the swings they're taking. And actually, even though I had cooled on 5 and 6, I actually was still very interested in where that was going to go. I was interested
right.
to see Melissa Barrett's character become the Ghostface killer, which was the eventual. Like later on, it's been revealed that was the original plan, that she was going to become Ghostface in 7.
Which I thought always was a good idea,
Yeah,
because this idea that Billy was still inside of her and what was that is such a cool basis for the fight for her soul. And honestly,
100%.
here's the thing, right? This movie, you can see the bones
Yeah,
of what they were going to do, because you know what? I bet you no matter what 7 was, Lillard was always coming back. You know
yeah,
why? Because Stu Macher, either a Stu Macher or someone pretending to be, would fuck with Barrera because you're trying to bring that Billy Loomis side of her out.
right, right. In a way, I think I mean, I don't know this, but it feels to me like Melissa Barrera, if the Melissa Barrera version goes forward, I think Stu does come back alive.
That's what I
'Cause that's the
mean.
best way to, like, and that would be a defect. I think he'd come back and he would definitely be like, definitely bring that more out of her, being that tipping of the, like, almost like a Sirius Black to Harry Potter, like, in reverse, like a negative fashion in a way.
Because I know that the big rumor was that Jenna Ortega was gonna die up front. We were gonna
Yeah,
kill one of the core 4 up front. What
right.
if it's Lillard? Like, the idea that Stu Macher's the one who kills her sister is, like, a great basis for a jumping off point of that film.
And imagine the Ghostface reveal being Melissa Barrera's character and Stu Macher. Like,
Right.
it's a classic, like, it's something we haven't done in the franchise yet, seeing a Ghostface return like that in a way, and it's kind of an interesting angle to go on, for sure. Yeah.
It
Mm,
that's the whole thing with this, and I'm gonna say that I feel like a lot, because I'm so frustrated that I can see the bones of things that were good ideas and bones of things that were meant to be. Like, it feels like a ghost of past, present, and future while watching a movie,
right,
and you can tell where things were changed. You can tell that there were ideas, because they've even said that the idea was that Nev was always supposed to come back in some capacity for 7 if they could get the
right,
money for it.
right,
Because again, I have this feeling that the idea was ultimately Sydney was going to have to either save Miss Melissa Barrera's character or kill her. So
right,
either she kills the daughter of her original ex-boyfriend and the person who started this all, or she saves her soul. You know
right.
what I mean? And like, so there's this idea there that would have been fascinating to
Yeah,
deal with. And
absolutely.
all of that was taken away from us by studio meddling for a movie that just doesn't earn the stripes of the franchise, because again, it feels so quickly thrown together that none of the characters make sense. None of them resonate. I never get a feel for anything that's going on within the film as like it mattering. It
Right.
just exists to make us go, "Ooh, I remember a thing," and I just wasn't there with it.
Right. I wanna talk about one of the good things that I thought was in the film in a way, and it's better on paper than what was delivered, I'll tell you that in the first place. But
Okay.
I think obviously when Kevin Williamson came to and the Melissa Barrera thing went down, okay, so we have to reframe this now. We're
No
bringing
matter
back
what.
Neve Campbell as Sidney Prescott. It's gotta be a Sidney Prescott story. Okay. Right away, the problem there is what else could we possibly tell for Sidney Prescott as a central character, which hasn't already been done, like, to death a few times in a way? Giving her a daughter, Tatum, who honestly, she was probably, I think,
Isabel May
Isabel
is one of the
May
better
was,
parts of the movie.
yes, I think she was the best new part of the movie, I think I would say, possibly. Um, that is a great idea. The idea that Sidney Prescott has a daughter who she's raising, who she is trying so hard to be protective, and in a way is being so protective that she's not teaching her to defend herself. That's a great parental story. I like that idea, and it makes sense to Sydney's character. It makes sense to what would possibly be happening in that world around her, and having
You
to
know, I
have Tatum's character, have to have Tatum learn to become a Sidney Prescott. Mirrors a little bit of the Halloween 2018 thing. I get that a little. I get that, but it could have been done even better in a way. The idea was there that where she are at the beginning and where she is supposedly at the end. I like that journey, but it just how they get there is all sorts of fun.
I was gonna say I actually liked this better when I saw it as Halloween H2O, which,
That's the idea.
like, I mean, kind of the same concept, right?
Not yeah,
In a
not
lot
too
of
off,
ways.
not too off.
Like, there's a
Um,
lot of similarities between H2O. I would argue there's almost more similarities to H2O than 2018. Down to like a lot
you're
of the
right,
ideas of her being in a like loving relationship, but like
right,
dealing with the baggage of that and what
yeah,
does that do? So she's now the overprotective mom of a high schooler. Like a lot of that is directly from Halloween H2O, which is
you're
fine.
right, you're right. I guess I'm more picking because I think Judy Greer and Isabel May feel very similar to me in some
Oh,
ways because of that.
totally fair.
Yeah,
I just think it's funny because I just like all of the stuff in that one so much more. And again, it just feels like that is funny to me because H2O was directly a response to Scream. And
right,
so in a weird way, it almost feels like the Scream franchise is now trying to rhyme off the movies that were trying to rhyme off of it. So it's
right.
now feeling like this weird carbon
Synergy?
copy of a
Yeah.
carbon copy.
Yeah. It's not wrong. You're not wrong. You're not entirely wrong on
No.
that.
And I love a lot of the stuff with Tatum. That's the one thing that I do enjoy. And I actually had not
Neve and
you.
Tatum have great chemistry, I think, honestly, as mother-daughter.
Yeah, I had a friend who said something very interesting, and I'm sorry to say it wasn't you. But he went to go see the movie today because I guess his teenager was begging him to go as my buddy Corey, and he said I liked the movie when it was just them having conversations and there
Yes.
wasn't that much of it. And he was like, there was a better family drama somewhere in this movie, but then somewhere along the way they were like, well, what if we turned it into Scream?
Yeah.
And it's so funny because I can argue that I think the Halloween franchise did the same thing, and now all I can think of is maybe I just want a movie, and maybe Christopher Landon should direct this, a movie about a family who is just like it just deals with this girl who is the daughter of a serial killer's survivor.
Right.
And like that what does that feel like? But without the actual attacks and everything, but how does one deal with
It's
living in that world?
more of a drama than a
Yeah,
horror
or
movie.
like a dramedy almost, right?
Yeah,
Under,
drama,
like,
yeah. Well, yeah.
Landon, like, you could do something
Right.
fun with it.
No,
Um,
absolutely, absolutely, about that for sure. I will say
but,
also, I
like
want to get this out there
yeah,
while we're talking about it. You and I disagreed a little bit about this. I actually really, really enjoyed Neve Campbell's performance. That was the other thing I really did enjoy. Um, and you can, I'll give you your counters in a second. But for me, I
you're
felt like
fine.
honestly, this is probably the best performance she's had since Baby Eyes is the first one, to be honest with you. It felt genuine to me. It felt real to me. It felt subdued at time, but I felt like that was more of a choice that she was making. Like she was kind of like holding herself back. Like the character said, he was trying to hold herself in check. She'd been through so much. She's a little bit of a stone face now a little bit, but she's trying to like she's doing it to protect her daughter and her family and everything else. But when she comes out and has those moments, it's like she's just as good a final girl as anyone could be. And I think that's true. I think Neve Campbell, you have to put her up there. Even if this movie isn't that great, I think she has proven to be right up there in the Jamie Lee Curtis category of final girls in a way.
I love her in every one of these movies except this one.
That's which is weird
That's
to me. So strange to me.
because and maybe this is a outside thing for me, but I watch you and I joke about this a lot. I'm in my dad lit era.
Mm,
I have been doing nothing but reading Michael Connelly novels basically since the back end of December.
right.
I have read almost 30 of them since December.
It's amazing.
And that is not a joke. Like that has really been a thing. And because I love those books and I love that universe. and I have been watching the Lincoln Lawyer TV show also on Netflix. And it's really interesting because Neve is in the TV show.
Oh,
And
I didn't
in
know that.
season 3 and season 4, she is doing some of the best work of her career I have ever seen her do.
Oh, okay.
Season 4 in particular has her doing some of the best work I have ever seen her do as an actress. And I have
Okay.
seen her do incredible, incredible, incredible things this year because the Lincoln Lawyer season 4 only came out at the beginning of February.
Fair.
So when I was watching this, I just didn't get the vibe she wanted to be there in the same way. And knowing that everything we heard was that it took getting, not that she doesn't deserve to get paid, mind you. This is not me saying she doesn't deserve the money. It's me saying that it took that kind of money to get her to come back. But I also feel like there was still a little bit of almost resentment towards that. And I don't know also if it's her thing or a Kevin Williamson not telling her how to act in the scene thing.
Hmm.
And that's where I'm having a problem with the performance because I think, to your point, this is something that you have told me in the past, is specifically in these movies, is that you're looking for the things in the performance that you want to see
Right.
that I may not necessarily see. That,
Right.
but because you used to use that on me with the Melissa Barrera thing, and I like where your head's at, and I'm glad that's what you got out of the performance. But I just don't see it. And instead, I got frustrated because I felt like that there was more for her. And I look at Jamie Lee Curtis in Halloween 2018, Halloween Ends, and Halloween Kills. Those movies ask her to do so much across the board, whether she's full on fucking crazy, whether she's Susie Mom Homemaker, whether she's like totally off her rocker, whether she's a badass, whether she's being funny, sad, heartbreaking, whatever. And she fucking goes for it.
Mm,
Honestly, I kind of feel like we peaked with that with Sydney in Scream 4. And
that's fair.
we've never really recaptured that character. And I guess I think that's the other thing with this is we regress this now twice. Sydney has gone through this where someone has tried to reboot her story twice now already, and this is the third time. And so it's not offering her anything more to do either. And I think that's really frustrating. I love her and Isabel May together, but I also don't think there's enough going on with it that I can be as behind it.
Interesting. 'Cause that's the anchor for me, and that's why it does work for me.
No, I
That
get it.
there's stuff with Isabel does make it
Yeah.
for me. I'm sorry it doesn't make it for you, but I understand that completely. I do
No,
think
for sure. And
it
I'm
is
not trying to
weird.
shame you for it.
No,
Like, I'm not even,
no, I know
I'm
you're right.
conflicted because
Right, I get it.
I love these movies.
I
Genuinely. I
I
love these movies.
I felt that way, honestly, about her Scream 5 appearance. That's how I felt about her in Scream 5. Like, I felt like it was like "I'll do this because you want me to," but, like, almost like also, I feel like she was like, felt resentment that somebody was taking over and that she was only the mentor character now, kinda just like, "I'm still young, I can still do this, fuck this. Yeah, they'll give me money, I'll do it." And I feel like in this one, I feel like she kinda like, however it went down, she's like, "Alright, this is my movie again. I gotta prove like that the line, "Past my prime, right, bitch." I think that was her intent, and it sold me on it, and again, you're not wrong, maybe I see it, maybe I wanna see
Yeah.
that, but I think it's with her and Isabel May that make that work for me. I feel like it's powerful to me to see that.
For
Completely
it.
opposite of what Gale Weathers gives me. Courtney Cox, I think, was honestly horrible in this film, to be honest, though. I
No,
don't
I
know if
get
it's her
it.
fault, but it she didn't ring
And
true at
that's
all.
how I so here's a perfect example for both the performance and the character.
Let me
If
interject real quick before I say, because I just said a blanket statement about Courtney Cox. I do think she had a very good moment, when talking about Dewey's death and when she talked about the attack in New York. I think that was a good performance, but it just was, like, kinda glossed over in the film itself. So, I just
yeah,
wanna make
and
that
so
clear. So,
no, fair.
yeah.
So a perfect example of exactly what we're talking about. There's this great moment between Sydney and her daughter Tatum, where Ghostface has got broken into the coffee shop that she owns, and Tatum is
Mm,
inside the office, and she's FaceTiming with her, trying to save her, and she's watching on the security cameras. However, in that same scene, something so blatantly dumb to me is happening at the entire time, and that's Sydney stops and stands in the middle of a street instead of
Yeah.
continuing forward, trying to run to her daughter to stop this from happening, and she just goes, "Well, I'm not gonna make it in time," and decides to stand in the middle of the street.
And then does make it in time later on, not in time, but does make it there eventually.
Right.
Which I agree. Even during that thing, I was kind of like, "You're stopping, even if you don't think you're going to make time. You're still going to go there because she's still alive, and if she stays alive long enough, you will get there eventually."
Right, and
Um,
so there's things like that, and so maybe it's really down to the and I already said it up front, I don't think Kevin Williamson's a very good filmmaker, unfortunately. I think he's a great writer, like, I like the things that he's done, but this movie just he does not get basic filmmaking stuff. Um, and that is a perfect example of why, because that doesn't feel true to her character,
right.
especially after everything she went through. And this character in particular, who's named after her best friend who was already murdered by Ghostface, she's not running her entire ass all the
Right.
way down to that
Right.
coffee shop.
Right. 100%. 100% on that. This is not like a big city. This is a small town. She would get there eventually, and she'd find a way around there to get it. And Sydney, the one who wants to fucking like, she's all about uh, nonstop. She's gonna not stop
Yes.
until it's finished. She's gonna keep going to get to her daughter.
Well, and so that scene at the high school, the first attack at the high school with
Hmm.
McKenna
Hmm.
Grace, who, by the way, I love McKenna Grace. What the
Why
fuck
is
is she
she in
doing
this
in this
film?
movie?
You know what it is, and I feel this is what happened. And again, this is me being old, maybe, but like when I talked about the cold open with these nobodies that I, at least for me, were nobodies. I almost feel like Kevin's like, well, we're gonna do this in the beginning for the stew sequence, but then we'll still have the cameo, the celebrity cameo death by making McKenna Grace be the first death. Like they almost like they try to shift
Yeah.
it to being that instead, because otherwise, like that's what I meant before when I said at the beginning of the film. I kind of see what Kevin Williamson might have been thinking. I just don't agree that it works. If you have
No.
McKenna Grace and she's not the celebrity cameo in the beginning, then you keep her throughout because she's a damn good actress and much better than anybody else that is in the film. Besides, I mean, Isabel made it great, like I said, but like she would have been the one to keep towards the end, keep her in the film
Right.
as long as possible.
But they also don't give any of these actors or actresses anything to work with because
Anything to
you
work
don't
with.
know her character. You don't know any of the friends of Tatum. So they're all just stock characters that mean nothing. And
They're
so in this in
cardboard cutouts.
particular, um, they have this whole scene where the ghost face FaceTimes in and we see Matthew Lillard for the first time and panic sets in. And we're told over and over and over again, this is a small town, this is a small town, this is a small town. So the ghost face thing has already happened.
Right.
And so Sydney calls her husband, a new sheriff named Mark, by the way, or a new police officer named Mark, who clearly was written to be Patrick Dempsey until it wasn't. Again, talk about a choice.
That
And
thing absolutely killed me. Like, if you can't I know they wrote it from our Patrick Dempsey,
they did.
and supposedly, if I looked quickly, but it was about like there were some scheduling things. I think I don't know what it was. He couldn't make it. Okay, and you know what? Joel McHale was good in the film. He was solid in his role,
Yeah.
but why would you have? If you want to write Patrick Dempsey's character out because he's not going to be there, okay, I don't like it. I like that she had a happily ever after with Mark,
Yeah.
but we're going to replace him with another character named Mark, who was also a police officer. And like I actually told Kim coming out, I didn't even remember Mark's name. So I'm like, I don't know if Joel McHale is supposed to be like a recasted Patrick
Yeah.
Dempsey, or if this is a. I didn't know what they were going for. That's a
No,
problem to
because
me,
they don't even reference it. It just exists.
right? Even made a joke where like, well, I like police officers named Mark, I guess, or so. Even that would like do
Yeah.
something to like at least it's
Anything would
just
have been
weird.
better. So
And wait, I'm sorry. While we're here, I like Joe McHale, like I said. Yeah, how does he even survive?
yeah,
He's like
100%.
he gets stabbed pretty brutally like midway through the film, and also at the
And
end
we
of
never
the
see him
30 minutes,
again, mind you.
never see him again. He must have been bleeding. Had he's not bled out since then? Like he's just laying in the garage bleeding out, and he's like gets pulled out. He's like, oh yeah, I can still do that. What the? I
No,
know
dude,
horror movies logic, but, like, when it's that bad, it's, like, hard to follow. It's, like, hard to be like,
right, and
I
so
can't.
to bring this full circle to what we were talking about, because this leads to exactly what I'm talking about. Talk about bad logic. So this Ghostface calls in. They know that he's at the high school. No one bothers to call the high school. And so they're trying to get across town. And then we have an entire almost 10-minute sequence, I feel like, of Ghostface killing McKenna Grace, but no one was around and they show up just after it happens.
Yeah,
I know that these movies suspend disbelief a lot, don't get me wrong, but it never feels well constructed in a way that makes it work.
this is what I will say about this. It's just actually like a lot of movie logic. You can suspend your disbelief so much easier if it's a better movie. But when it's
Yes.
not a good movie, those things get multiplied in your mind, and you start, like, not that you're looking for problems, but they just become so much more glaringly like, "And this, and this, and this."
Be
Whereas, like, it's a
be
good film, you're kinda like, "Okay, yeah, the logic that's a little weird logic, but we'll go with it."
because imagine, and this would have been way better. All you do is flip that scene. The Ghostface attack happens. Then it's Matthew Lillard FaceTiming in from there, and he shows the body, and they don't think it's real, and they
Right,
don't believe it's happened.
right.
Like, right?
So much
That
better.
that makes so much more sense, and it takes away a lot of my frustration of why didn't they even bother calling the high school?
Right. Good
It
point.
it because this movie makes so many of those choices.
Mm,
The more that I think about it, the more frustrated I get because, again, I know that these movies are chock full of that stuff, but it's the first time that it's structured so badly, I can't look past it.
yeah. Agreed, agreed.
Um,
Um,
so I
yeah,
do wanna say that even though I'm being very hard on it, I do think that there's a lot of, like, decent cinematography to the film that actually it looks nice at times. I
yeah,
don't think it's always great. Again, I chalk a lot of that up to Williamson being really blue as a director.
he's a writer and a
He's a
director.
writer. But
Writer for
there are
life.
some, like, really cool shots. I'm not gonna pretend there's not. Like, there is some, like, interesting things in that. I do think that there is one very funny, fantastic kill, and that is, one of the friends, Lucas, he's the one that they keep calling weird, who that is his only personality trait. He is
Creepy.
weird.
Yeah, it's creepy.
He's creepy. His death is very funny to me, only
Yes.
because we've never seen anything quite like that where the ghost face puts him on,
A
a beer
beer,
spigot,
like it,
and
yep,
then it, like, goes down and beer is coming out of his mouth.
right.
That was very funny, and I
He
will give it that. So there is a very okay murder in this
but it
movie.
that I wouldn't even say it's a good burger. I'll
Yeah.
go so far as to that. It's actually kinda funny because that was too much for Kim. I
Oh,
took Kim
really?
my wife is actually not a horror fan at all. I think I've said that she hates
Yeah.
horror films, but she Scream kinda goes on the comedy side of things enough that it's okay. But when she saw that coming, she was like, "Yeah, that's gonna be too much for me. Just tell me when it's over." I started laughing. She's like, "Are you laughing because it's so gory?" I'm like, "Kinda. I'll explain it afterwards."
Yeah.
But yeah,
That was
it laughed. It was good. It was good.
that was my favorite part, but that's talk about another sequence that is really mostly terrible. That entire sequence in the bar where the
Felt tired.
Meeks twins go in to try to figure out who the killer is, it just doesn't work.
Felt
It's
tired.
the scene where they
Oh.
try to do the rules, but the truth of the matter is, like, they know that they really don't have rules to this, so they just kind of do a 30-second version of it and move on.
Look, I gotta say about these characters, first of all, I didn't like them really in 5 and 6 either. I think at least I cooled on them. I think when I wanted to like them because I love Randy. Randy was my favorite
Right.
character, first 2 Screams, and, like, they're related to Randy, so I wanted to like him. I wanted, "Oh, good, we have a Randy character to do the rules," and they were okay in 5 and 6. But first of all, they are too normal to be related to Randy. Like, Randy and his sister, like, Mason Gooding is like a supermodel kinda hot, like,
Yeah, but I
poster
love him
pit-up
in these,
boy.
dude. He's so fun.
He's fun! Anyway, but he just feels too, like, normalized. He's not quirky enough to be in that family. So that always throws me a little bit. Like those the Randy characters, like the poster pinup boy and everything else. I will say Mindy is a little closer to what I feel.
Yeah, and that's why I like it. I love that there's a yin and yang.
Yes, but I'm sorry that they're terrible in this film because not even I don't think it's their fault. Again, not
No,
even their fault. But like, why are they there? They are there basically to say, well, see, we didn't really kill all. We are still acknowledging Scream 5 and Scream 6, but like they show up working with Gale, and they're there for like, and they get to survive for the third time. They survive these like really gruesome attacks.
I'll say I loved Chad going, "I don't wanna get stabbed again," and then getting directly stabbed again. That was really funny, like, good moment, that made me laugh. Um, but again, that whole sequence is terrible. Like, there's no and I think I texted you this last night. We actually talked about this movie a lot more, going into this than normal, and even
Yeah,
then, we barely scratched the surface, I feel like now in
yeah,
hindsight.
I agree. I agree.
Um, what's really funny is that that sequence should work, and I really want to always love it. And then yet I look at it and I go, "Who thought this was the good idea?" Because I like being scared in the Scream movies, and I texted you this. I realized one of the biggest problems is I never got scared in this movie, not even
No,
for, like, the characters. There was never a time that I really felt like there was no getting out of this,
right.
and that really bummed me out because I actually think, the escape room sequence in this or the panic room sequence, I mean, is really smart.
Yes, yes.
That is a
That was the best
great
one they
idea.
had. That was the best one
Yeah,
they had for sure.
and yet, it still is, like, 30 minutes into the movie, and that's maybe your best bit,
Right. Right. That's a good point. That's a very
which
good
is
point.
also wrapped in what is arguably the dumbest thing in the movie, which is the entire sequence involves these that the school attack has happened and her best friend has been killed. So they go to Sydney's house with her husband, with all the cops, and they sweep the house. And they say, "Don't worry, there's no one in the house." And there's going to be a police presence outside while they go into the house to get all of their stuff out so that they can move and go into witness protection or whatever it is that they're going to do. Only for they didn't look in the attic. So there's a ghost face in the attic that comes down and great shot, by the way. I
Yeah.
love the shot of the ghost face coming out of the attic and the turn, like all of that is very cool. Until the ghost face has Tatum, they try to shoot the ghost face and no cops walk in to deal with
Right.
the ghost face.
Once the
And
gun,
then
yeah.
this sequence goes on for about 10 minutes and leads to them being on the front lawn and the cops still don't intervene, only for the ghost face to end up in the street and get hit by a van that Gale happens to be driving because she just genuinely happens to be showing up there. And then the cops go, "Oh, hey, was something happening?" Killing me.
Yeah. I mean, they're being loud in that house too. It wasn't like they were being quietly held. They were being loud in that house. It was just
Right.
ridiculously like off-putting. I don't. Yeah, I get what you're saying, and I really agree. Especially when the reveal comes. By the way, that well, as we find out by the end of the movie, this is a third Ghostface person that's involved, who really has. He is a scrub. He is
Yeah.
a stormtrooper. He is a register in Star Trek. He has nothing to do with anything, and so it's like this is the guy. This is the
You know
guy
who
that
he is?
who
He's Garp from Hot Fuzz or Yarp. Yarp.
Yarp,
That's
yarp,
what he
yarp.
reminded me of.
Yeah,
Yarp.
pretty much. Pretty much. Um, it it's the red herring of sorts to let you think that maybe it's over, but then Sydney and Gale don't believe it's over, and they have to do the investigation into this guy's past, which by the way leads them to this mental institution where all of a sudden Ethan Embry comes on screen, and I just turned to Kim and was like, "Oh, there's your ghost face," because you don't hire Ethan Embry, like the '90s actor, it's like to put in this role for 30 seconds to give you
You know what's
backstory.
funny?
Information.
I 100% forgot he was in this. And then he popped up and I went, "God damn it. Ethan Embry's the killer." Like,
Yep.
I completely forgot he was in the movie. He popped up and I went, "God damn it." Like, I just
it was so easy to like. It was just so like easy. It's like, is it because we know these films so well? I don't think so. I
No.
think it's just the way this is structured is that it can't not be him. There's
Yeah, and
no reason to put that actor at no 90s actor in this role unless he has to come back at the end and be the bad guy, basically.
you know what the worst part is?
Mhm.
He still looks so much like himself from Empire Records, except balding, that
Except for
then
the
all I could
hairline.
think of that was that he was Mark from
Yep.
Empire Records, and it made it so much harder for me to take seriously, and I hate to say it, man, between Ethan Embry in this as Marco Davis, a character whose name I'm never gonna remember, and then the also awful Anna Camp as Jessica Bowden, who literally has 2 minutes of screen time before she is revealed to be the killer, and that is not a joke, by the way. She literally has 2 minutes of screen
2 minutes
time,
and 17 seconds, right?
yeah, before
It's
she is revealed to be
ridiculous.
the killer. That is so dumb and so bad, and it is the most egregious version of these movies trying to be, like, surprising, and it's really especially egregious when you consider that the film's whole thing is it's always someone you know, it's always someone close to you, you're gonna know who it is. We don't know her.
No.
Sydney might know her because she's the next door neighbor, but we don't the audience doesn't know, so I never feel like they actually know each other.
She has to spend like 15 minutes talking about her motivation, explaining her motivation. And it's like, if you have to explain that much what your motivation is, then you have failed as a movie.
Yeah.
And I will say, real quick, I have to throw it in there. You see Ethan Embry as Mark for Empire Records. I was never an Empire Records guy. I like the movie. I like the movie. Don't get me wrong, but that's not the one that like resonated when I was younger. Like that's not the one I watched all the time.
Vegas Vacation?
No, no, no. Can't
Oh.
hardly wait.
Oh, that's
Preston
fair.
Meyer. That was my Ethan Embry movie, girl. I love
Yeah.
like me and my buddies watched Can't Hardly Wait all the time. So, but still, same premise because Preston Meyer is that is just like really geeky, like
Yeah.
shy.
Yeah. I always just think of him getting too stoned and watching a Guar concert and getting eaten in the concert because Empire Records is a fucking masterpiece. And if you've never seen Empire Records, you know what? Turn us off right now. Stop
What?
listening to us bitch about Scream 7. Go watch Empire Records. You're
You know
going to
what?
be in for a much better time.
You know what? Do a double feature: Empire Records and Can't Hardly Wait. They're both
Yeah,
Ethan
there we
Embry
go.
movies. They're both fun. I
And you know what? Take it one step further. Make it like a music trilogy Ethan Embry. Add that thing you do.
oh
Add
yeah,
that thing you do.
it's not a good one. It's not a very good one.
Yeah. Tom
Uh,
Hanks.
Absolutely. But you're right. There's a lot of good stuff that a lot of good stuff Ethan Embry has done, but like that, and I guess in a way it's kind of cool. Maybe that's what the thought process was. Maybe we're going to subvert expectations. Even though he has done, I remember he was a scumbag recently in something. I can't remember what it was. I have to look up what he was in. There was some movie where he played like a dirtbag a little bit, but maybe the idea was it wasn't as big, and so maybe making him the Ghostface kind of subvert your
Oh, it
expectations
was
with him.
Blind Spotting.
Is that what it was?
Yeah,
Okay.
because remember he was the officer.
Right.
And that
Oh,
was it was like
yeah.
real against casting at the time because people were real surprised that he was such a piece of shit in it.
Oh, you know what else? You know what else it was? I'm picking up was during my horror run. He was in Vacancy.
Oh,
Also,
that's
where
right.
he
Yeah,
like
he's a real scumbag in that too.
that too. But those are I don't think those are as well known as his other roles. So I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong there, but maybe that's the idea. But if that's the idea either way, it doesn't work because you can't put somebody in that role and then not and try to make it like a surprise at the end because it was not a surprise. I mean, I get the only thing I can think of is Kevin Williamson even knew that was going to be the case. Like, well, we'll reveal this one as potential there. That's because he's giving all the information to Gale and Sidney. Like, so it's all the information that they need, and they could be lied to by everything came from him. So if he's going to be the killer, he can lie to them. So maybe we knew that we would know that it would be him, and then the surprise reveal is Anna Camp, the neighbor, and that's and it's the worst part. She kills her son.
Yeah.
Lucas,
The only Ghostface to do that.
the aforementioned beard kill was the creepy kid was her son, and it's like
Uh-huh.
so is that enough to make you go, "Oh, that's a shock," because I never would have guessed her because her son was killed. Maybe that was the thought process. And if it was, I get what you're doing. But God, that was a stupid choice. It's
Well,
not
and
worth
you
it.
know,
Not
man,
worth
this
surprise.
movie, yeah, it's not, and it's weird because this movie really kills every one of the new characters,
Oh,
which
yeah.
is, and I know that they're trying to make it a point that there's a lot of talk about obviously the core four surviving, but like the truth of the matter is that Gale and Sidney and Dewey survived all the initial 3 movies and 4 movies rather also. So
Right.
it really wasn't that different to have the core 4 surviving these 2. So they were like, "What if we just killed everyone off instead?" But now they're just fodder and like they're
Right.
not interesting. They're just there to die and most of the kills just aren't that great.
Well, we did save Mark II inexplicably. We saved Mark
Yeah,
II.
well, there's that. Like I'm going to say, man, I want to know what the fuck happened in this idea with the Anna Camp thing because the Jessica Bowden uh housewife who was abused, who was actually inspired by Sydney to get out of the abusive relationship, murdering the husband and then being disappointed by meeting Sydney and deciding to murder her is such an out there weird choice that doesn't make a lick of sense
Right. It
at
doesn't.
all.
It
It's like
doesn't.
it's really awful.
And they haven't used that as the reason. Like she explains killing her son. Well, he was a lot like his father. Wait, what was he? Was he? We only saw him be nothing but nice and sweet for the most part. A little obsessed with true
Yeah.
crime, a little obsessed with Sydney, like so a little creepy, yes, but like awkward or what do you want to say? But like that was enough to say he was like your abusive husband. You had to kill him.
Yeah. Like that was a weird choice.
Yeah, that's a very weird choice. Like it didn't make a lick of sense to me at
Well,
all.
no, and again, I mean, look, what about this Ben character, Sam Reckner, who, like, look, I don't blame him, but the
You
stuff
don't.
with that entire character with Ben is so overplayed in the wrong way, and it's so obvious that they try to do the bait and switch of, well, clearly he's gonna be just like Billy, but you know he's clearly not,
Right.
and so when they try to do it, it doesn't really work
Right, with and they have
with
the
the laptop.
computer with the
Yeah,
laptop, and all of a sudden in order to see if it could be done, he records a whole thing of him deep faking, which where did he get the Stumacher stuff from anyway?
uh-huh.
Also, like, it's like, so he deep fakes as Stumacher and everything else, like, and that's like, that was the reveal. It was like, "Oh god, he's the one." And you knew it wasn't because it wouldn't have been that easy. And then it doesn't make any sense at all. It's a poor twist for twist's sake, and those never go well when there's no
N
reason behind the twist. And he's right.
no.
He's a bad character. He is so complete milk toast overall, and I don't care about him. When he dies, I'm like, okay, all right, cool, let's move on.
And that's how I feel about the killers though too, because
Yeah,
look, I've made it I made it no real secret when we talked about Scream 3 that like I think Scream 3 is kind of a mess and I really don't like the Roman Bridger of it all. I've always said I felt like it kind of came out of nowhere, like it doesn't really work.
right.
And so this movie doing arguably the worst version of that it makes Scream 3 look like a masterpiece comparatively. And that is baffling to me in so many ways, and I will say this, speaking of Roman, this movie's usage of deepfake and AI is not great, but fine and like a decent idea until the 3rd act when it goes completely off the rails, and them deciding that they're going to bring back all of the
Almost
characters that
everybody.
they can in having they have Stu, Nancy, played by Laurie Metcalf again, Scott Foley comes back as Roman, and David Arquette again as Dewey. It's just nonsense, and it
Yeah.
doesn't work, and it doesn't make sense, and, like, everything they're trying to do is, it's someone you know, while also leaving out Jill. Where is Jill?
Not only that, bring back Randy. If you're going to bring back
Right.
anybody for that kind of thing, Randy is the perfect character you should bring back. And Jamie Kennedy wanted to come back. Now, whatever his stuff aside, like he should have been there as well. Especially, I was like, in my head, I'm like, well, I guess they only were doing the actual Ghostface killers. And then I was like, wait, but Dewey wasn't the killer? So, like,
And what
what
if
we,
he had done the rules?
what
And the
that's what I'm
rules
saying.
were there are no rules.
If he had come back and said and did a rules bit like that, we're like, we're breaking all the rules or we're stopping the rules. It's not anybody you know this time. It's inspired by or whatever.
Yeah.
He could that could have been a fun bit for him to be in. So to have all those member berries and everything else, if you're gonna go all in and get everybody into it.
And what
Otherwise,
did we say?
yeah,
This movie half measures everything. It either just it can't commit to any bit. So instead of going the full country mile of yes, it's actually Stumacher. Yes, it's actually you know what I'm saying?
right?
To that point, it's exactly what you're saying. If you're gonna do this, then commit to it. Where's Jerry O'Connell?
Where's Billy Loomis?
Hmm.
He came back for for 6. I almost guarantee he would come back for 7 again.
And
Like that
again,
kind of
I'm
hero.
really gonna argue on that hill for Jill on top of it because
I
you're telling
agree.
me that the blood relative that she had to murder
Right.
that did this the first time
Right.
is and I know that the whole thing is, "Oh, well, they're really just obsessed with the original, Sydney. You were only obsessed with the original." But you're not making that make sense if you're also pulling from 2 and 3. So
Right.
also, then where's Timothy Olyphant?
Right. Right. We have mom. We don't have Timothy.
Right, but yeah, and you had Billy's mom, but not Billy.
Right. And
It's so bizarre, dude.
by the way, is if you're gonna pull, you have the twins to acknowledge 5 and 6. Where is FBI Ghostface tracker Kirby?
Yeah,
There's
100%.
Ghostface killings here. She would be there. Like that's literally her job. Literally what she was doing.
It is such a baffling, just, like, step-by-step missteps,
Mhm.
because everything that could go right goes wrong, and that
Mhm.
sucks so bad because I
Mhm.
don't like being this hard on movies, but the
No.
reality is I think I even texted you, I was like, I really hated it,
Yeah.
and I got angrier the more I thought about it because I'm really precious to this franchise, and it's not that I don't want good movies. I think that they're all pretty damn good, all things being equal. Even if I think 3 is a mess, like, it's a watchable mess.
Right.
But,
Right.
like, this movie makes me not want this series to continue because my only thought is, this is now look, no matter what I feel, clearly the general audience is into it. It's making all the money this weekend.
That is the
So
most fascinating part of this entire thing is that when Melissa Barrera was fired and they brought back Neve Campbell, there was going to be this big boycott, yada yada yada. And like we were both all kind of curious, like, well, is Scream 7 going to flop or is Scream 7, what is this going to happen? And we were given that all important lesson that Twitter is not real life
mhm.
and that general audiences and I tested that right before I went, actually, before I even heard about the box office success. Uh, My wife, Kim, is definitely GA. She's definitely general audience. And I asked
Oh,
her, she had no
100% she
idea
is.
who Melissa Barrera even was. She had no idea about the controversies. She's like, I'm gonna go see Scream 7. I'm just gonna go see a Scream movie. I'm gonna have fun. Let's go. And the general audience saw Neve Campbell coming back and was like, okay, okay. And I gotta say something. I'll say it. And a lot of the Scream 5 and Scream 6 fans, I've read them saying, well, they brought the franchise back to good graces, and this is because 5 and 6 were. That's not why. It's not why. I'm sorry. It's the
Mhm.
general audience sees Neve Campbell back on screen as Sidney Prescott in the big
In
role,
the lead again.
in as the lead character. I think that had more to do with it than 5 and 6 bringing it into good graces.
No, 100% and it's unfortunately true. There's no way around it. I will say I do think it helps that 6 was the most successful movie to that point,
Yeah,
and it
about
left it
that,
in a very, like, good place
right?
to be like, "We can continue from here." And so, like I said, I mean, it doesn't matter what you and I think. At the end of the day, like, I'm glad people are watching, I'm glad they're listening, whether you agree with me or not, like, that's
Mhm.
fine. It doesn't matter what I think. The audience is speaking with their wallets. This movie is making a stupid amount of money.
We're gonna get an
But
8, almost
we're gonna
definitive.
get an 8, but I kinda wanna be off the train, because
Yeah.
if it means that Kevin Williamson's coming back to direct, I have no interest. Like, my interest is now gone. Unless we get, like, fresh new voices coming in to take this franchise forward again, I'm not interested because we've already done member berries, and frankly speaking, this franchise has now lived off of it 3 separate times since 3
Yeah.
ended. We don't
The,
need to do this again.
the big issue that I have with going forward is like as much as this this story didn't need to happen. Like I said, I go back to the tale. I did like that the idea they came up with the mother daughter relationship, even if there was Halloween vibes to it. I think it's a good story for Sidney Prescott. I think that was a worthy story to tell. So I'm like, you know what? They came up with a story that's actually worthy to tell, kind
Yeah,
of.
no doubt.
But now I'm like, okay, so now what's the story that they could come up with that would justify Sidney coming back again? And then like it there's a problem because we have a problem at that point. It's
Yeah.
like I don't know what, and you know what? I mean, Kevin Williamson is a good writer. Maybe he can come up with something that is
And
compelling.
maybe if he has time. But
Yeah,
the one thing I ask is that they get a different director.
I agree. I agree. Um, but
Because we did this before. Like, look, we did this when Scream 6 ended, and we talked about the future of the franchise.
yeah,
Where do we go from here? Because I don't know. I feel like they kind of pushed themselves into a corner now, which
yeah,
sucks. Like we've now you can never go back to the Stumacher thing. And I feel
no,
like they really like for all the talk about is Stumacher still alive or whatever, like we've spent 30 years having the conversations, and I kind of feel like they dropped the ball on what could have been a much better executed idea. So I don't know where you go from here
remind
with
me because I'm
this.
an old man. I'm an old man. Remind me. But the funny thing was, where did those rumors even technically start? Outside of
It's
Matthew Lillard wanting to come back, because as far as I knew, when we watched Scream, there was no doubt that Stumacher was dead.
Yeah, but it became like as 2 and 3 were going, there was a lot, especially with 3, because remember there was all those rumors that he was originally coming back for it, and
Yeah,
that
I
was
mean, he
the
was
stuff
in
with the
that one scene in Scream 2 and the crowd
yeah.
scene or whatever. I guess. Okay, all right, I guess.
So, like, it being there and existing, like, it makes sense, don't get me wrong, but, again, I really argue that if they were gonna do it, then they should have just gone the full mile with it, and Stu
Do
should have
it.
been alive to die again.
Yeah, and do
Because
it.
you know what? It would have also really played against the funny idea of, like, you always shoot him again in the head. You know what? She didn't shoot him in the head, she dropped a TV on it, and it didn't
Right,
work.
right, yeah, he said, "Gotta shoot him in the head."
Yeah,
This
so you
time she
gotta
goes,
shoot him in the head.
it's like, "Well,
Like
this time I shot you in the head too,"
like,
kind of thing.
it was right there.
Yeah, agreed.
I don't know, and I've seen people try to argue that this one's more in tone of the first one, and it's much more like the first one, and I really don't think it's that reminiscent of the first one. Uh, at least for me, like, I think that that's a lot of nostalgia glasses. I'm glad people are enjoying it, but I think this is much closer to the second one than it is to the first one.
Okay, that, because I was about to argue, I do think it's closer in vibe to the Craven ones in general, but definitely not the original one. It's definitely, I agree, more like 2, that makes sense to me. It does feel
Yeah,
more like the Craven ones than 5 and 6 did, and that part I
sure,
did
that I'll
like.
give you.
That part I did like because of that, because that was my problem with cooling the 5 and 6 is I just missed the Craven vibe. It felt like 5 and 6 were more sinister kind of feeling in a way.
See,
And
people say
maybe
that about the first one and this one, though.
and
That's
maybe
what I've been seeing a lot.
7. Oh, interesting. I didn't think this one felt as sinister because I didn't feel scared the whole time and everything else. But again, I compared to 3, where 3 went too far on the comedy side of
Right.
things. So like I, I don't know exactly where it falls. It definitely is in no way, shape, or form like the first one just captured the vibe perfectly.
It
Never
never.
recaptured that 5 completely. I think probably 4 was the closest we got to recapturing that vibe, and even that's not quite there as far as vibe
I
goes.
I think
Um,
that's why I liked 6 so much because I felt like it was the one that finally got us to, like, the proper place to push the franchise fully forward. Like, 5 starts it, but, like, 6 like, the being in New York, the balls to the wallsness of it all, like, I still think that the ladder kill and that whole sequence is just, like, one of the best sequences in the entire franchise. Like, 6 is so good. And so it's really hard for me to look at this one and go, "What the fuck, dude?" It just feels like we regress so far back. And
yeah,
again, I think it's just because at the end of the day, I love these movies and it breaks my heart to not love one of these movies, and I wanted to like it because I liked the trailer more than everyone else. I remember when people were being real difficult on the trailer, and you and I were texting, and I was like, "It looks like Scream." Like, I don't know why
Right.
everyone's so upset.
Yeah. Well, that was also part of the performative of this of that as well, was already on board there. But at the end of the day, the film doesn't match up to the trailer for me at all. I'll give you that.
No.
Does not work. It just doesn't work. And it's funny, we're talking about the future of the franchise. Like, we had this like mid credit scene, and every review I've read, both positive and whatever, it feels like this is where it's passing the torch on because Mindy becomes Gale and they're doing the thing. And I'm kind of like, I saw that, I'm kind of like, is that what you got out of that? I just got that it was like a silly mid credits scene. And honestly, it just, if that's your passing the torch, it feels like a weak passing of the torch. Like, it doesn't feel real to me. Like, that's what, so the twins are the future with Isabel? Is that what we're gonna do? Like, I feel like the future of the film, the franchise almost has to be Sidney-less again. Like a movie about maybe like Isabel Tatum being on her own, and maybe Tatum and the twins or something.
Yeah.
But like,
Basically, Tatum in college.
right, Tatum in college with maybe the twins are there for, I don't know why. They have to make up a reason. I mean, they made up a reason why Randy was visiting college all the time, so I guess you could make it work. But like in two, I mean, but like it just feels a little, why bother? I know
Yeah.
why bother, because we had a $60 million opening or whatever it was. That's why we
Oh,
had to do it.
$100 million
100 million.
worldwide, I guess.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. That's why it's that's the why we're gonna have it work.
Yeah,
But
no
yeah,
doubt
sorry
about
about that.
it.
I mean, because I don't, there's no member berries really left. You can't, unless you're gonna pull some kind of 180 and like Gale is like the focus of the film. There's no even reason for her to be there.
Well, and you can't
Um,
do that because now they've basically said that Gale can't be involved in this anymore
right, pretty much.
because of all the nerve damage after the movie, which
Right.
here's the other thing. Stop referencing the 6th film and reminding us that Sydney wasn't involved in it.
Right. There's a lot of
'Cause
jokes in that way, in that came
yeah,
across that way. Which is weird. I will attack and say, like, I remember like a lot of people saying, "Oh, they were making jokes at Melissa Breuer's expense in Seven." I was like, I don't think they really did. It was more that
no,
you're making jokes at Neve Campbell not being there for Seven. That's the joke of it in a way.
yeah,
I guess I could see where you could take it the other way, but I don't think that was the intention. I
no.
think the
I
intention was to
thought they were
play on
just
Neve.
taking shots at the fact that she wasn't in it.
Right. That's how I took it as well. Um, but yeah, they did keep mentioning six. But that's the thing too. Like the Gale of it all, as we said, like she arrives with the flimsiest of excuse because of the cold open. Okay, so I'm going to drive all the way from Woodsboro to wherever Shady Pine Oaks, whatever it is, fast as I can, and run over Ghostface. Go to the interview, and then when Sydney leaves because her daughter's under attack at the coffee shop, Sydney leaves and runs and leaves Gale behind, and that's the last we see of Gale until like the very end when she shows up again. Like, Gale didn't follow. Gale didn't like go to help her friend out. Like, she just kind of like disappears. Why are you even
Yep,
in this movie?
yep. They just wasted every character basically. Like, I mean, again, the mark of it all. Is he not? Is he? Is he not? Like, is he? Why are we not dealing with this?
Right.
Whether or not he's Kincaid or not, but let's deal with the situation. Courtney Cox, yo, you're here until we don't need, like, we don't have a reason to keep you, so we make you disappear until you come back again. There's just so much of that throughout the movie, man. Like,
What?
it's just a movie that was written to put a band-aid over everything in the
Yeah.
hope that we'd all look the other way. And look, it worked. I'm not gonna say it didn't work. The audience showed up.
Yeah, the audience showed up, and it's got mostly good audience reviews. Like, audiences come out of like, not like film circles, but like the general audience have
Yeah.
been like, yeah, it's been good and everything else. I will say also, Joe McHale of it all. The only like I would, why didn't you just have him be Mark? Like, recast
Yeah.
him at that point. And if you didn't, the only idea is maybe Kevin Williamson said, well, maybe we can get Patrick Dempsey to come back for Scream 8 somehow, and like they can have a marked love triangle or something. I don't know, but like it feels like it's a wrong decision to make. Just rip the band-aid off. You're gonna move on without them.
Yeah.
I
It's just weird. And it's so funny, dude. I remember walking out and I texted you and I went,
So
"Well, I didn't like it, but guess what? The GA is gonna."
yeah, you just give that. There was hooter and hollering in your audience. Or my audience seemed to enjoy it as well. And you know what, Kim, as GA, she said after I told her, I was like, "What did you think?" And I went into everything, and she's like, "Yeah, I liked it. I agree. I see everything you're saying, and I agree with what you're saying, but I still thought it was a fun time at the theater." I'm like, "Okay, you had a
I
fun time
look,
at the
man, at
theater.
the end
Good
of the
for
day, and
you."
we've talked about this before, and I said it earlier. I'm not here to argue with you. If you
No,
loved the movie or if you even liked the movie,
happy for
dude,
you.
that's great.
Yeah,
Our friend Maxwell, he asked me what I thought. I told him I didn't like it. He went to see it today. He texted me, goes, I liked it. I went, great. I'm actually glad you did because you know what, man? I don't want anyone to feel like they wasted their time at the movies. It sucks when that happens.
yeah,
So I'm genuinely happy for anyone who likes it. It just did not land for me at all. And
yeah.
like that this is coming from someone who tries so hard to find the good in things.
Right.
I just could not get there with this movie. Like this in particular just didn't work for me. It'll be the first time that I don't really want to revisit one of these. Like I have no real interest in where the franchise goes from here. Now, again, that could all change. Maybe they get an interesting filmmaker. You know who might be great for this? Adam Wingard.
Yeah, yeah,
He's free now. He's not doing Face Off 2, so you know what, man? Get Adam Wingard.
yeah, absolutely. Or you take a swing and get something like a Zach Kreger.
Mm, Krager would be interesting, but, he's already busy reinventing Resident Evil, so,
Yeah, I get it. I get it. Just
let
throwing it
him
out
do
there
that.
as a name that I wouldn't mind seeing make an attempt to
Actually,
do
I
that.
would also love to see someone like Nia DaCosta because I really loved what she
Yeah.
did both with Candyman and 28 Years.
Yeah, I never saw Candyman, but I did like 20 Years Bone Later, Bone Temple. I did like that one a lot. That was
Bone later?
Bone
We're
Later.
gonna bone later?
Bone Later, yeah.
28 Years, bone later. Okay,
28 Bones
cool.
Later.
Yeah, there we go. Alright. I see you, sir.
That
I
was a
see
different
you.
franchise altogether.
Yeah.
Um,
I look, at the end of the day, I think you know exactly where this is going, because we're gonna rate this
well,
sumbitch here in a second,
that's true.
and
Uh,
because I
we
think
rated
we've run this you've been here
yeah,
for an hour and a half. I think we've said everything we can possibly say about this movie, and
I think so
I'll
too.
say this real quick, one last thing.
Go ahead.
No matter how you feel about the movie, if you leave a comment below, please be respectful.
Yes.
Because I know that this movie in particular is a real firestorm of stuff for a lot of reasons, and I don't want to downplay anyone's feelings about any of it. Um, so if you decide to leave a comment, just be kind and considerate. And like, if you loved the movie, great. Like, if you didn't like the movie, great. Just don't be assholes about it. Like, I'm just gonna say that really upfront. If you go in the comments below, don't be an asshole about it because
I agree.
uh, it is so easy to just delete and block you guys from being here. I
Yeah,
don't want to do that. Like, no one here is trying to say that your opinion is wrong. I'm not here to force my opinion on you. The whole reason I think you guys are listening is because you like to listen to us talk about movies and break it
yeah.
down the way that we see them. It's not to tell you that you're supposed to feel how we feel. This is just how we take the movie.
Correct. Absolutely. I couldn't have said it better myself. So
Yeah.
without further ado, we will rate this son of a bitch. We rate things on a scale of 1 to 11 here on PLD Projects. We always turn things up to 11 here on PLD Projects. And just to wet our whistles, we'll give you the rundown of what our ratings had been for the rest of the franchise. And let's go from the beginning. Scream 1, the original. We both gave perfect 11s, which not a surprise.
Nope.
Scream 2, I gave a 6.5. You gave a 7.5. That was one we actually watched and were disappointed at how
Mhm.
much less we liked
I was much harder on that movie in hindsight than I probably should have been.
it. Same. I kind of feel like maybe I should bump that up a little bit. Scream 3, I gave a 4.5. You gave a 5.5.
Hmm.
I almost feel like I was maybe a little harsh on it as well, but it is what it is. Scream 4, we both gave 9.5. Scream 5, you gave it an 8. Scream 6, you gave a 9. I have switched my scores a little bit. I think I both, I can't remember because I changed it already in the spreadsheet here for me. I gave Scream 5 now a 6 and Scream 6 a 7. I think are basically full points. I think I was at 7 and 8. I believe I was at 7 and 8. But I think after having seen them again recently, or more recent than our review, I definitely cooled off on it a little bit. So 6 and 7.
It makes me
So
sad, but I'll allow it.
still, it's funny actually. That's funny, which is funny about that because that puts Scream 5 below Scream 2 for me. Um, and I can justify that because you know what? Scream 2 still has Randy.
Yeah,
Even
it's
though it's
fair
the
enough.
bad mistake that Scream 2 kills him off,
Yeah,
they still get the big "fuck you" moment at the
which we
scene
use all the
all the
time.
time. So, all right, so Scream 7 then. What are you gonna give Scream 7 after all of that?
Oh my god. This sucks. This sucks so bad. It's not an outright 0 because there's too much stuff in it that, like, I see certain things that I like. I like the Matthew Lillard of it all, even though I think they fuck up what they do with it. I think Isabel May is very good. I just can't get past most of what it is. I think I have to give this movie a 3.
Okay. Not the lowest rating we've ever given.
No.
That's interesting to know. It still belongs to, I believe, The Final Destination and maybe Halloween Resurrection is what I'm gonna guess. Um,
Halloween Resurrection is one of the worst podcasts we've ever recorded.
yes. Trick or treat, motherfuckers. I give it a 3. I'm going a little higher, like we thought, because I
Yeah.
did again, and most of that is based on the Neve Campbell of it all and the relationship between Neve and Tatum, and I did like that as a basis. With that being in mind, I'm going to give this a 4.5. So
Alright.
it's about the same as Scream 3 for me to a degree. Um,
It's a real bummer though, and I really genuinely mean this, that the movie that Kevin Williamson finally came out of, like, directing retirement for was a Scream movie. And this dude was the architect of these movies, and it is easily the worst of the franchise. Everything about that is a bummer. From how it happened to why it happened to how we ended up here, it all sucks, and it's such a bummer because I was genuinely kind of rooting for this in some capacity in the hope that Kevin Williamson would take it across the finish line, while also being really bummed out about what happened regardless. I never wanted it to go this way. This blows. I hate how I feel about this.
Well, hopefully Scream 8 will
Sucks.
come out and we'll be talking a different tune, hopefully.
Yeah.
Um, I'm not very confident in that, but we'll see, and,
I'm just bummed. I hate this.
come to it.
I hate how I feel over this. This
I
sucks.
do. We're gonna end that here, and we will say thank you for, coming back for us after our large, hiatus due to, health issues and scheduling issues and all of that. I did mention before, we did come back last week on Patreon and membership as we're continuing our MCU journey. We're still trying to put forward our schedule going forward. I do know that, like, next week, we'll go back to Patreon again, and we'll be doing, Spider-Man: Homecoming. That's definitively after that, we are going to finally finish our when we started, like it
Yeah.
feels like 5 years ago, but we're going to finish our Men in Black and Ghostbusters crossover season. We still have 3 films to watch there: Men in Black International and the 2 recent Ghostbusters films. So we're going to cover that. After
I
that,
like at least 2 of those significantly more than what we watched this week.
correct. I think I liked all 3 films better than the one I watched this week, to be honest with you. Even the one I don't like that much, I still think probably is a better film than the one I watched.
Yeah,
We're
that's
gonna find.
probably accurate.
I think, for as far as I'm concerned, I'll say it right now. Well, we're both talking about Men in Black
Yeah.
International. I
Yeah.
think Men in Black International is just
Just go ahead and rip the Band-Aid off. Men in Black International is
that's
the
what it
black
is.
sheep here.
It is Black Sheep because we both like the Ghostbusters ones, Men in Black.
Yeah.
But I think honestly, the sin of Men in Black International comparatively is more that just kind of like a boring nothing film that I don't remember at all because that it just didn't leave an impression on me. It wasn't like actively bad. It just was nothing burger. At least that's what I remember. We'll see when I watch it again. It could change. But then after that, I don't know. We haven't exactly finished. We might decide to go all in on Marvel, even on the main part of the channel, so we can make that sprint towards Doomsday.
Mhm.
We have some other ideas we're pitching. We still want to do Kevin Smith at some point. We're still going to do a bunch of other franchises we've talked about doing. I think we
Yeah.
mentioned Evil Dead potentially was another one we'd love to do at some point. We're going to do the Aliens and Predators at some point because it's definitely in
We
our
have
DNA.
a lot of ideas in the fire. The truth is that
I figure out what we
life
want to do
has
when.
been Yeah, life has been lifing, and we're fitting this in where we can. That's just the reality of the situation, and we are going to be around to do things, but the structure might change in some capacity, but we still want to do what we're doing. I think that the View Askew thing will probably be next up because I also think it's the one thing that we can both agree that we don't necessarily have to revisit things just to talk about it.
Right.
Because I think you and I both know those movies way better than maybe everything else in our lives. So,
Mhm.
they have a real special place in my heart. So maybe
Mine
that's where
too.
we go, but we really wanna make that sprint to doomsday and get all through the MCU, movies before that happens, and we're still pretty far away from that right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that may take up a priority of the rest of the year for us, which is not a bummer either because I'm also enjoying revisiting those movies leading to doomsday.
Absolutely. And what we might do, depending on how quickly it goes, like we have been recording the MCU for a bit. Like we
Yeah.
said, we just did Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. On the main channel here, I have released phase one. I believe the Avengers was the last one I released on here. So we actually could go weekly and just do Marvel. It actually might be more content from us
Yeah.
publicly at that point before we start moving on to other things. But we'll see. That's all kind of in the future. Let us know what you want us to do in the comments too. I'm interested
Yeah,
in getting your
honestly,
opinion.
I'd love to hear from you guys. We haven't done the joke in a while about we haven't covered like we've never covered Puppet Master as a horror franchise, and we've never covered Tremors. Like, but genuinely, like if you guys have a thing that you want us to do, let us know in the comments below. I know that there's been a lot of we've had people talk about John Carpenter in the past.
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
know that we've had people there. Someone wanted us to do Terrifier. Someone wanted us to do Texas Chainsaw Massacre at one point.
Right. Yep.
There's all sorts of things we can do. I would love to hear from you guys
I'd
down
also love to
below in the
hear like
comments.
don't you don't have to just stick to franchises per se. We are a franchise. That's what we do. We basically cover
Built. Yeah, we're
franchises in a way.
franchise built.
Well, but like the View Askew, even though it's technically a franchise, we also had some ideas thrown out us like kind of like too. We did like there's one like a Langdon verse where we do the Happy
Yeah,
Death Days, but also include Freaky Drop, and we have a ghost. We also had the weird kind of like insidious, sinister Black Phone, and it all had a similar vibe or
yeah,
similar creators kind of thing. I think those would be kind of fun. Hell, we could do a Frank Grillo Joe Carnahan
yeah,
crossover kind of series. Good action point things.
100%.
We love all those kind of things. So we got a lot of good things we could do. We could do a heist film thing, Ocean's 11, Wolf, Snatch. You could do a bunch of those kind of things.
Yeah.
Cornetto trilogy. We could do the
I mean,
Edgar
I
Wright one.
actually that would be super fun.
Right.
Actually, is just doing Edgar Wright also,
Yeah,
just in general.
absolutely, absolutely. So we could do directors, cinematographers instead of
Yeah,
just franchises. Although we are different, and we did start out as a horror franchise. We have branched out, but we like to go back to horror still here and there as we do Scream and everything else. So we are always pitching those as well. So get it out there. Let us know, and we will do our best to get back to you on it.
and
PJ, where can the
also,
folks
if you're
find
not
you?
watching Scrubs,
Ah,
get on that shit. Like, I know I joked about it up front that this is the Scrubs podcast, but legitimately, if you wanna see franchise nostalgia done right, go watch Scrubs. It's like that show never left for 16 years.
it really is. The first two episodes, like I went in hopeful because Bill Lawrence has not lost a step. He's obviously doing Ted Lasso,
I
Shrinking,
mean,
some of my
he's only
favorite
gotten
stuff.
better.
Exactly. It's only gotten better, absolutely. But I kind of like went in going, it's got to feel different when you're 15 years away from yourself. Got to feel different, right? It doesn't feel like they look a little older. That's about the only thing that's changed. Is that they feel like they're just a little
And
bit
it's
older.
shot more in HD. That's
Yes,
pretty much it.
pretty much. Felt just like I rewatched it with Kim again this weekend. Kim was pleasantly surprised too. I love it. I can't wait for it to continue. So yeah, definitely do that for sure. PJ, where can the folks find you?
You guys can find me wherever podcasts are sold. Here with Paul, you can find me on the social medias under PJ_Campbell. I've been on Threads a lot more lately, and I use Instagram. Still on Blue Sky, but Threads has kind of become my happy place. So check me out over there.
Yeah, honestly, I will say the same thing. I'm on Twitter still for various reasons. I apologize for Denuzio there. But Threads I've been pleasantly surprised that Threads feels more up my alley as far as like it just feels like like-minded people. But I believe on PLD projects there though. So yeah, so that and Blue Sky I'm on as well. Blue Sky I like Blue Sky, it just feels a little vacant in comparison. I think that's the problem, unfortunately.
Hmm.
But yeah, you can find us all over. You can find me on this channel. I do have other shows. I used to have other shows. I haven't really quit. This is the first show I brought back. I'm definitely going to do my Queen one. I have some ideas for that for Crown Jewels. Whether Holy Snow's comes back or Review comes back is still kind of to be determined. That's no fault of our great co-hosts, Lego and Maddie Gunner. Love them both. It's just I'm trying to figure out how to squeeze things into my busy life
Life is
and
life,
living
and
on life is life and what I want to do with them. I kind of have the feeling I will bring them back, but probably in a diminished capacity. I think this will be my main podcast going forward. And the Queen one, because the Queen one is usually I do a weekly, but it's usually like a 5-minute, 10-minute video. So it's usually something pretty I can just kind of squeeze in. But we'll see. Let me know what you guys think as well on that. But otherwise, we'll see you next time here on Two Middle Aged Geeks on Film. Peace out.